In 1946, a book arrived in the West that didn't make noise. It made silence. Scientists picked it up and went quiet. Philosophers read it and changed careers. Steve Jobs carried it his entire adult life. It was the only book on his iPad when he died. George Harrison said it changed everything. Elvis studied it until his final years. The book was called The Autobiography of a Yogi. And what made it so quietly detonating was what it documented. Things that had no business being real. Verified, investigated, witnessed. A body showing zero signs of decay 20 days after death, documented by a mortuary director in a notarized letter and reported in Time magazine. A woman who consumed no food or water for 50 years. A man witnessed in 2 cities simultaneously. And yet, Yogananda presented all of it the way a scientist presents findings. Systematically, repeatably, with the precision of someone describing laws, not miracles. Here's what I'm going to show you in this video. The 2 master concepts inside that science and exactly how to use them to reshape your reality. My name is Daniel, and I want to start with the ancient sage Patanjali, because what he did roughly 2,000 years ago stopped me cold the first time I encountered it. Patanjali encoded something called the Yoga Sutras, 196 verses that read less like philosophy and more like a technical manual. He described outcomes that we would call miracles, levitation, bilocation, living without physical sustenance, with the same tone, the same systematic precision as someone describing how to breathe or how to concentrate. And he called these outcomes inevitable. Not possible, inevitable. Given the right conditions, they arise as naturally as water flowing downhill. He called them the siddhis, the side effects, because what he was really documenting wasn't the phenomena themselves. It was the underlying discovery every tradition, from ancient India to Egypt to Persia, had been pointing toward from completely separate directions. Physical reality responds to consciousness. Sit with that for a second. Not as a metaphor, as a mechanism. So if that's true, and if it's as precise and repeatable as Patanjali insists, then the question becomes, what's the actual system? What do you actually have to understand and master for that to work in your life? Here's the first concept, and it comes directly from the Autobiography of a Yogi. There is a quote I've sat with many times, and it goes like this: "The flow of life energy is naturally directed outward. It is wasted and absorbed by the senses. The practice of Kriya reverses that flow. Life force returns to the inner cosmos and reunites with the subtle spinal energies." Now let's zoom in here for a second. Most people's energy is hemorrhaging outward, constantly, into distraction, into anxiety, into that problem they've been rotating in their head for 6 months. And here's the thing about stagnant energy. You've felt it. You know exactly what it feels like. It's that specific texture of being stuck, where you keep hitting the same ceiling no matter what you do. A trader who keeps blowing accounts. A person growing a business who keeps plateauing at the same income number. Someone who keeps replaying the same relationship pattern. Energy isn't flowing through the problem. It's hitting it and pooling. Water that doesn't flow becomes stagnant. It fills with bacteria. It dies. That's not a metaphor. That's how energy operates in a life. So what's the fix? Here's where it gets practical. Patanjali and the ancient Hermetic traditions both describe 3 planes of existence: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And here's what most people miss. You can't solve a physical plane problem by only working on the physical plane. The mental plane governs the physical. The spiritual plane governs both. Start with the physical. In the 8 limbs of yoga, one limb is called the asanas, correct postures. When the body is aligned correctly, it functions like an antenna. You stop blocking signal. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a dogmatic wellness person about this. I've actually seen the opposite work better. The year I stopped being rigid about my diet, stopped obsessing over every macro, stopped stressing about every decision, my blood work came back dramatically improved across every single marker. That surprised me, but it makes sense when you understand what's actually happening. Stress is the mechanism of breakdown, not the food, not the sleep schedule. The stress response itself is what degrades the system. An overstressed biohacker who's clocking every cold plunge but running their nervous system into the ground will deteriorate faster than a relaxed person living simply. The mind maintains the body. That's not a belief, that's biology. So at the physical level, the goal is simple. Remove what inflames you, keep what feels good, and stop manufacturing stress over the optimization process itself. Now the mental plane. This one is where most people unknowingly sabotage everything. Where is your attention right now in your actual life? Because if the answer is on what isn't working, on what hasn't happened yet, on the gap between where you are and where you want to be, you're broadcasting from lack. And that broadcast is what the field is responding to. The ego has a self-preservation strategy here, and it's sneaky. It keeps your attention on what's wrong because raising expectations creates the risk of disappointment. Low expectations feel safe. Stay in the comfort zone. Don't reach. That's what the ego wants. And the cost? You feel most dead exactly when you're most comfortable. Think about when you felt most alive. It's almost never when things were easy. It's when you stepped into something uncomfortable and came out the other side. That aliveness is the signal. That's the nervous system waking up to its own potential. So here's the mental shift required. Continually redirect attention from what is unwanted to what is wanted. Not as affirmation theater, as actual discipline. Every time the mind drifts to the problem, you notice it and you redirect it toward the chosen outcome. Now the spiritual plane, and this is where the physics becomes fascinating. In your spinal column, when you alternate breath intentionally, drawing energy up from the earth and down from the sky in alternating cycles, you are quite literally creating the conditions of an alternating current in a wire. And if you remember anything from high school physics, here's the critical part. An alternating current generates a magnetic field. A magnetic field attracts and repels. You want to attract your goals? You need to become magnetic to them. Not push toward them, not chase them down. Become the field that pulls them in. That is what the breathwork practice Yogananda describes is actually doing. It's not mysticism for its own sake. It's the supercharging of a system. You bring in oxygen-rich energy, you expel stagnant waste energy, and you build the internal field strength that makes attraction possible. This is the first half of the science. Master the three planes, physical, mental, spiritual, and you clear the channel. The antenna is now aligned. But there's a second concept that most people completely miss, and it's the one that determines whether any of this actually works in your life. Which brings me to the second concept. And this one is the difference between someone who works endlessly and someone who seems to achieve effortlessly. And it's not talent, it's not luck, and it's not work ethic. Patanjali calls it the balance between effort and surrender. In Sanskrit, abhyasa and vairagya. But I want to describe it in a way that lands practically. There are two types of intention operating in your life at all times. Inner intention is your personal willpower, your resolve, the part of you that says, I am going to make this happen. This is the ego's intention, the petty, individual, prefrontal cortex-driven push toward an outcome. It's not bad. It's necessary, but it's limited. Outer intention is something different. It's the intention that doesn't entirely belong to you and also belongs to you completely. It's the field, the current, the divine mechanism by which things get achieved of their own accord when the conditions are right. It's the pull rather than the push. And here's what yoga means. The word yoga literally translates to union. The entire 8-limbed path, every practice Patanjali laid out, is aimed at one thing, erasing the boundary between your inner personal intention and that larger outer intention, becoming so aligned with it that the separation disappears. Now here's how this shows up in ordinary life, because I want you to see this in something you've already experienced. Have you ever obsessively checked your phone waiting for a specific message? You keep picking it up, setting it down, checking again. The more desperately you refresh, the more that silence stretches out. But then one day you get genuinely absorbed in something else. A conversation, a project, a walk, and when you finally glance at your phone, the message is there. The thing you were waiting for arrived the moment you stopped treating its arrival like a crisis. That's not a coincidence. That's the mechanics of outer intention. Your attention energy, when locked in obsessive monitoring, creates a kind of interference. It signals, loudly, that you do not have the thing. And that signal is what the field responds to. Let go of the outcome, not the goal, the outcome. Michael Jordan was once asked by a young player's mother, "What's your secret? What does my son need to do to be great?" His answer was 4 words: fall in love with the game. That's it. Not fall in love with winning. Not fall in love with trophies. Fall in love with the game itself. Because when you love the process, you stop counting the hours. You stop measuring every rep against a result. The work becomes intrinsically rewarding, and the outcome arrives as a side effect. Andy Carnegie didn't obsess over becoming the wealthiest man in America. He obsessed over building the best steel operation in the world. The wealth was a byproduct of that obsession with value. Elon Musk, whatever your opinion of him, has never once made his primary conversation about money. His conversation is about Mars, about electric transport, about the mission. The money follows. It always follows when the focus is on value rather than extraction. There's a concept called obliquity. The idea that the most direct path to a goal is often not the fastest. There's actually a mathematical curve called a cycloid that demonstrates this perfectly. Place a ball on a straight slope versus a cycloid curve, and the ball on the curve, the more indirect path, arrives faster. Always. What looks like the long way around is sometimes the mechanism. This is why obstacles aren't necessarily detours. They might be the cycloid. The path your egoic mind labels as a setback might be precisely the curvature that gets you there faster. And the moment you accept that, truly accept it, not as a coping mechanism, but as a genuine belief in the intelligence of the process, you stop fighting the current. You start riding it. Winston Churchill put it plainly: the man who can go from failure to failure without any loss of enthusiasm will become successful. Not the man who avoids failure. Not the man who powers through it with gritted teeth. The man who moves through it without losing the spark. That spark is outer intention. That's the alignment. So here's what all of this means practically. Every effort you put in should be oriented toward union, toward closing the gap between your small personal intention and the larger field. That means fall in love with the craft, not the contract. Show up for the process, not the paycheck. Surrender the fruit of the action while doubling down on the action itself. And when things don't arrive on your timeline, that's not rejection, that's recalibration. Stay in it. Keep showing up. Take 1 step forward and 10 back if you have to. Then 2 forward, 9 back. Then 3 forward, 8 back. The trajectory is clear even when the day-to-day doesn't look like it. Here's the real takeaway from everything Patanjali encoded 2,000 years ago, and from everything Yogananda documented in that deceptively quiet book. You are not separate from the field that creates reality. You are part of it. The magnetic body you've been reading about in mystical texts, the consciousness that ancient sages said reshapes physical reality, that's not a gift reserved for yogis in mountain caves. It's the architecture of what you already are. You just haven't been taught to use it. Master the 3 planes. Build the alternating current inside yourself. Balance the push of effort with the grace of surrender. And stop treating your goals like emergencies. Treat them like inevitabilities that haven't shown up yet, because that's exactly what they are. If something in this video landed for you, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you know someone who's been grinding without results, share this with them. It might be the thing that reframes everything. Thanks for watching. Talk soon.